It's April. It's April. It's April. It's April. It's April. April. What does that mean? Autism Awareness Month. Hi and welcome back to my channel. So today is going to be a really special video because I'm going to be talking about our autism discovery / journey up until this point with Castiel, and I thought it would be a really good video for today. So today is Autism Awareness Day. April is Autism Awareness Month, but I thought this would be a perfect video for today. So if you want to know what we went through and things like that with Castiel when we found out about his diagnosis, just keep on watching. Our son was born in September of 2013, and we did not find out his official / autism diagnosis until he was about 3 years old. But we kind of got hints that he was when he was about 2.5. So every year when you have a son, kid, daughter, whatever, you go to like annual checkups after their birthdays, and you know, obviously as they get older they kind of just become yearly checkups and everything. But when they're younger you have like checkups I think every like 6 months or so, like that. And so when he was about like a year and a half, we had one of those checkups, so 6-month checkups or whatever. And the doctor was just asking, you know, routine questions like how is he eating, how is he sleeping, is he drinking enough water, you know, things like that. And one of them was, is he saying any words? Like how many words is he saying? I'm just like, he's not really talking right now. And the doctor would be like, okay, that's okay, and moved on. I didn't notice it. I didn't think anything of it until after his diagnosis. Then I started to kind of piece the puzzles together. And so when he was 2, we had the same question. And before I had even seen the doctor, they had given me this paper to fill out. And I had seen the word autism on the top, but I didn't know what it was. So I was just like, maybe this is just something they have to check or whatever. And some of the questions were, does he give you eye contact? Does he play with you? Can he give you things? Does he come up to you and play with you? Can he do pretend play? Like these were some of the questions, and some of them I was just like, well, I feel like he's still too young to do any of this. I would circle no and then write on the side like I feel like he's still too young for this. And they gave the paper to the doctor. The doctor even looked over it, didn't see anything wrong or alarming. The main thing for him was the no talking. Because he asked me, how many words is Castiel saying? And I'm just like, maybe 3 or 5 right now. And he kind of just was like, and I was like, what? And he's like, that doesn't seem right. And I'm just like, well, how many words should he be saying? He's like, anywhere between 30 and 50 words right now. And I'm like, well, he's definitely not within that range, not even close to that. And he goes, yeah, I can kind of see that. He's like, I'm going to give you this number. You can go ahead and give them a call if you'd like. There might be, you know, some speech delays going on or anything. So why don't you go ahead and just give them a call? And it was our county health department. And I was like, okay. So first of all, when you have somebody tell you that there might be something wrong with your child, the first instinct to say is to like, no. He's fine. I mean, look at him. He's okay. There's nothing, I don't see anything wrong. But then I like started to do a little bit of research, and I kind of was like, you know what? His main milestone, I was like, he really should be talking. And I was like, okay. And then I started to talk to my aunts and my cousins and my sisters and like everybody about it. And they're just like, well, it's okay. Don't worry about it. He's going to grow out of it. Especially me, because I'm like a Hispanic, like with Mexican culture, it's just like that thing. Like, wait it out. They're going to grow out of it. Don't worry about it. He's just gonna grow out of it. He's gonna be fine. Your cousin didn't start talking until he was like 4 years old. Don't even worry about it, Mikai. Like, you're gonna be fine. And then I was just like, everybody keeps telling me this, but then the doctor told me that. Felt it in my gut, and I was just like, no, I don't think so. So I went ahead and I called the health department. I met up with this lady. She was like from their child services or whatever. She's like, hi, like I work with, you know, speech impediments and other kinds of things. And I was like, we can help you. I was like, okay, that sounds good. So we started to do bi-weekly visits. So like every 2 weeks or so. I think that's the word. I don't know. Every 2 weeks or so we would meet together. And she would see him, and she did a hearing. She did vision tests. Those came back clear. And then she started to do little activities with him, testing him on what he could do, fine motor skills, gross motor skills, color matching, things like that. And like she did this for several weeks, and then she told me, and she's just like, you know, he's doing okay. He's doing okay, but I really want a second opinion before I give you my final thoughts on this. And she's like, so I'm gonna have another lady come with me for the next couple of visits. And I was like, okay. So this lady would come with her. She would run tests and look at him. So there would be times when she would be a part of it and be asking him, Castiel, let's do this and this. And Castiel, can you do this? Castiel. There would be other times where she would let the other lady do the work, and she would just observe Castiel. And this happened for about like 6 or 7 visits. But I remember the last visit, she had come by herself. And she had looked over Castiel, worked with him for that hour or so. And then at the end, she looks at me and she's just, you know, I really believe your son is autistic. I thought you guys were just worried about his speech. She's like, no, I really think he's autistic. He's not really focusing when we talk to him. He's not really looking at us. He's not giving his attention. We call his name. He's not responding to it. Like, I'm just seeing some subtle characteristics of autism in him, and I believe that that's what he has. And I looked at her, and I told her, I was like, but he looks at me. He looks at me, and he looks at the camera when we say cheese. And she's like, well, has he been doing those things lately? And I was just like, no, he hasn't been doing this stuff lately anymore. And she's like, you know, a few people don't know this, but some signs of autism are regression. So they seem to be progressing, and then out of nowhere, it seems out of the blue, they kind of stop doing the things that they were doing. And I was just like, yeah, that's kind of what he's doing. And she's like, yeah. She's like, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put him into an early preschool for special needs children. Okay, lady, you just told me my son's autistic and now he's being special needs. Like, I don't, like, there's just 2 different types of things. And I know it seems a little bit silly, but it's like, 1, I'm being told my son has this condition. And now 2, I'm being told he's going to be in special needs education within our education system. Like, and I feel like that's a product of culture, you know, about how we just are in the world. Like, you have education and you have special needs people. Because I remember when I was in school, they're the weirdos. Honestly, that's what we had. So now that's what I'm thinking, and it's just I'm being hit from all these things, and then I'm feeling guilty because what if it's my fault? It's my fault my child is like this, you know? And I didn't put enough attention to him. I'm going to school. I have Ezekiel. Maybe, all my homework, all the research that I'm doing for these projects and these papers and my tests and my exams, and then Ezekiel and giving him enough to remember. I forgot about Castiel. Is that what it is? Like, I just started crying because I'm feeling this guilt, this immense guilt. And then she's like, honey, like, no, it's not that. You could have given him all the attention in the world, everything that he wanted, everything that he needed. And this still would have been the diagnosis we would have come to. Like, this is still what he is. This is who he is. You know, this is just how his brain is. And so I kind of felt a little bit guilty, but for a different reason. Like, is it my genetics? You know, like, I don't remember anybody in my family history having autism. I've never heard of it before. Like, oh my gosh, like, what, like, I just, so many things. And so we didn't tell anybody about his diagnosis. The only people I had told were my sister and my mom, which was my husband's sister and his parents. I didn't tell my dad, just told my mom and things like that. And it was a little bit stressful because you kind of want to put blame. Like I said, if it's not me, it might be my husband, and, you know, just a whole bunch of different things like that. But me and my husband, we sat down and talked about it because we're like, we can't not talk about this, because if we do, it's just going to lead to bigger problems. You know, you're lacking the communication. And so we made sure that we were very verbal about this condition with Castiel. And in that, I feel like it brought us closer, because now, yes, we love our sons and stuff, but now we're working hard to give our son more than we thought he would ever need. Because, I mean, you have children, you don't go into having kids. Like, you're pregnant, you're like, you know, my son is going to have this condition, and they're going to be like this, so we're going to be 100% prepared. You know, it's you don't do that, you know? People have kids so that, you know, and they make, some of them even, like, take out things so that their kids are perfect to them. Like, there's just so, you don't think about this. And so that was part of our thing. I could have let it tear me down. I could have let it, sink me and everything. But I think God made him this way, and he sent him to me. And so I found comfort in knowing that. And so through that, I was able to digest his diagnosis, understand what it meant, and then allow it to sort of envelop me and accept it, and it's just our life, and so I was able to work with it. And now I'm just like, okay, this is my son. This is who my son is. He is autistic. This is, we label things in our culture, in our society. So this is, my son has autism as part of his label. My label now is not just mom, it's a special needs mom to an autistic child, but that's just one of his labels and one of my labels. And I don't let it completely describe and envelop who it is that we are. That's another thing we had to overcome. And so now that we knew he was autistic, I'm going in and I'm meeting his teacher. Now this was a special needs class, and it wasn't just autism based. Like, it has Down syndrome kids, it has speech impediment kids, like other kinds of things. It's just a whole bunch of mixture of like special needs children. And I know that by I think half the year, the teacher, we had our special needs conference, and she goes, I really don't think I can give him everything he needs. If it's okay with you guys, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do some autism diagnosis, just so we know for sure that that's what it is, because we want to make sure he's getting what he needs. And then we were just like, okay, yeah. Looked at my husband, we're like, yeah, sure, this is what you guys need to do. Go ahead, do the testing. So they did the testing. IEP comes up. We're meeting with him. I didn't even know what that was, but we get it. And she's just like, yeah. So we believe Castiel is autistic. We did the testing. He's meeting all the signs. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna classify him as that. So then we started to well, these are the goals we want to complete for him, that we want him to do by himself independently and things like that. This is how we're going to work to hopefully get him up to those goals so that he can meet them, succeed them, and move on to bigger goals. And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds fine. So when we had done this, I didn't know that there were two different types of diagnosis. You have a medical autism diagnosis and you have an educational autistic diagnosis. We had done the educational. At that IEP meeting, they had told us about ABA therapy, didn't know what that was. Turns out it's applied behavioral analysis. There's speech and there's occupational therapy, all these different types of things. So I was like, okay, how do I get ABA therapy? Figured all that out. You need a medical diagnosis for that. Okay, well, now how do I get a medical diagnosis of autism? And I got that. And I was a part of that diagnosis, unlike the educational one. So they go in, they have a meeting with just the parents, and they ask questions about your son. How much, do they have temper tantrums? If not temper tantrums, meltdowns. If they do, how long do they last? How much is he hitting? How many times in a week do you think he's hitting? How many times in a week do you think he has meltdowns? What is he doing to communicate? Does he give you eye contact? Does he eat? How well does he eat? All these different questions. And then after that, they have an hour thing where they're with the child, and then they do different activities with the child, asking them colors, trying to get their attention. Do they respond to their name? How long do they hold eye contact? How many words are they saying within that hour? And then all these kinds of questions. And then after that, they and one of the things that they kept trying to do, because he's had a medical diagnosis twice now for autism, and I think it's so weird, is that they almost want him to get mad and to hit. And I hate it, because he hits hard. So it's I didn't want him to hit the professional, and I would tell them are you sure you really want that reaction from him? And they're like, yeah, we really need to see it. What is the cat or what he just and I'm just well, are you sure? Okay. And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, well, I'm sorry if he hurts you. And they're like, no, it's okay. It happens a bunch of times. Don't worry about it. And then they have this booklet that they kind of gotta fill out and things like that. And then they go in and they score at the end of it. And Castiel he wasn't meeting it, and he wasn't saying enough words, and so now he's nonverbal because he's not talking. And then he's, and as this, we found out about the lady when she had told us when he was about 2.5. By the time the teacher had done her educational diagnosis, he was already 3. And so by the time we had done the medical diagnosis, it was like 3.5. And I can see the differences between this time. Like, I'm starting to grab the puzzles and put them together into what he is. And so I can see he's not responding to his name. He's not giving eye contact. And if he does give you eye contact, it's like a fleeting second. Like, it's like, Castiel, that's it. Like, you just, that's it. That's all he gives you. And then, like, I can see he's not really saying the colors, and he's not doing things on command like a child would, and I can see these things, and I'm starting to piece them together. And so now we have that. And we were able to get on the list for ABA therapy. He was doing that for a little bit, but due to insurance, he had to stop. And then we were able to get the right insurance, and then we did the other testing, and then something happened, we had to stop. So that's another story for another time, but we did do that. We even did speech, and we did occupational for him, and both seemed to kind of help him. But of course, with insurance, that just big jumble of a mess that we're still working through. So that's another story for another time. But he has done it. The school tries to do a little bit of speech and occupational therapy with him, which helps that as well. But I mean, it was just so much, honestly. Being like, at school, my mom didn't have to come to my school unless it was a parent-teacher conference or she was registering us. Like, that was it. Like, and then, like, me now, I have Castiel, and I have IEP meetings, I'm constantly making sure and talking to the teacher, like, how is he doing? What is he like, And I could see the differences because Ezekiel was to preschool too. And I see the teachers in the morning, and I'm like, oh, how was he? It's like, oh, he was really good. And I don't really talk to her unless we're talking at a parent-teacher conference. Like, that's it. And I can see the differences between Castiel and Ezekiel on that front. And so that was one thing. Another thing that we had to overcome too is just going out, because I feel like when you have an autism diagnosis, you see the hand flapping, you see the yelling, you see the jumping, you see like the energy, and you see like all of this. It's just like, can we even go out? And my thing was, yeah, I didn't want it to completely, yes, he has autism, but I'm not going to let it stop us from doing something. I'm not going to let it stop him from experiencing the world in whatever way he wants, what we want, anything like that. So I think that was another thing that another hurdle we had to go over. And just, I was scared, I was scared, I'm not going to lie, because he would take off his clothes. We were being in the store, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to take him. Like, he just keeps taking off his clothes. He keeps licking the cart and putting his mouth on it and grabbing everything and then throwing things out and ripping paper off. Like, it was just like, but I was like, you know what? No, it's okay. This is just something that with constant repetitive action and just like kind reminders, like, no, thank you, Castiel. Like, he's going to learn. And that was another thing too. We had to like change up how we talk to him versus how we talk to Ezekiel. And so that was like a thing, like, just go to the store and deal with the stares and deal with the whispers and deal with like the side comments, like, oh my gosh, he's like hitting her and he's yelling, like, why doesn't she tell him like what to do? And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Okay. But I have to remember too, like, they don't know. They're judging me superficially based on what they see. They see this lady passing by in a cart. She has looks like a big kid in the cart, and he's making big noises with hand flapping, and he has a tablet in his lap, and he's hitting, like, they don't know that his forms of hitting are different. Like, he has hard hits, he has soft hits, he has pats, like, it's everywhere, and it communicates to us, like, what he needs. Obviously, we're working with him to kind of change that so he can be more verbal, but up until then, this is just how he is, and they don't know that. They just think he's being some kid who's being his mom, and that's okay. And that I will smile at people who stare at me, and if I hear them give me like a side comment, if I happen to make eye contact with them, I just smile at them. Because they don't know. I understand that that's not the same response everybody else is going to have, and that's okay too. Because sometimes it can be very mean, it can be very stressful, and you kind of want to lash out. And that's okay too, because sometimes I've wanted to do that. I haven't. Who knows if that'll change in the future? You never know. But that was another thing too. And then it's like telling other people about it, like family members and stuff. And it's just like, they would be like, are you sure? Like, he's not just listening to you and misbehaving on purpose. And I'm just like, no, he's not. Like, this is just how his brain functions. It's a little bit different. And they could kind of see how I talk different versus how I talk to Ezekiel, and just be like, she's just being overprotective. But she's like an overcrowding mom. And I'm just like, if I don't hold his hand when we're walking anywhere, or I'm like hovering over him, he's gonna do something. That's just how he is. I'm not being overprotective. I'm not over hovering. I'm doing what I need because I know what he's going to do. And that was like another thing, like my parenting style. It's like, why is she doing this with Castiel but not with Ezekiel? Well, because I know what Ezekiel's standards are. Like, I feel like this constant need where I have to explain myself, and I don't think I should have to. And that was just like, that's just another thing that I have to, like, another hurdle I have to do. Pick and choose when I should and when I shouldn't. So, I mean, it's a constant thing. I mean, you're a parent, and when you're a parent, you're always modifying things and changing things to work with your kids. It's the same thing with Castiel and Ezekiel. I feel like, yeah, it's just another thing you have to go over. And then like just talking to him and making sure we like proof the house for him, and because he's always coming up with these new behaviors, or sometimes he might even regress. That was like a big whew, like I thought we were past this. I thought you were doing fine, and no, he just reeled back into some old habits that weren't really good for him. Like he would bite, like he bites the skin off of his toes. He just rips it off, and I was just like, I thought we were done with this. Or like I have some like stories about him with like water and stuff. More videos later, but I mean, it's like different mannerisms for him, different behaviors that we have to work with and flow through. And I'm always on the guard, like, are we going back again are we doing this thing? Are we throwing waters on the floor again? Are we biting our nails again? Are we biting the skin off of our feet again? Like, I just have to make sure I'm always on him about certain things, and that's okay. And I've come to realize that my autistic child is going to be different from other autistic children. I just thought there was like one label when this started, like there was just one thing for everybody. I thought what Castiel did, another autistic child did, but that's not the case. Like the autistic children, there's a range, there's a spectrum of things. And now that I know that, like, I don't compare my son's abilities and progression and where he's at to that of the child next to him on the spectrum, because they're two different. And so that was just another thing that I had to understand too. So I hope that with me explaining his story a little bit, that maybe you can kind of see. Because for us, that main thing, like everybody just keeps saying it for autism, is, oh, they don't look at you in the eye and they don't really like give you that contact. Well, for me, Castiel did that in the beginning. He gave me eye contact and things, but he just wasn't talking. That was our main thing for him. He wasn't talking. And then we learned later, like, well, now he's not looking at us. He doesn't really give us attention. And we didn't know that was another autism factor, that there's regression. It seems like they progress and then they stop doing those things that they were doing before. And so I hope that, you either one, learn something different, two, find some common ground between my story and yours, and three, just, I don't know, learn more about autism if you don't have an autistic child or things like that. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions about it, feel free to leave a comment or anything like that. If you find something the same, different, let me know. But yeah, I really hope that this was informational for you guys. And so thank you for listening as always and for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next week.